Hey everyone, time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So let's start with this. Rafa spent most of the day today on this, not all of it, and I'll talk about what else he did, but pretty much went around this bus. We had our paint guy mix up some paint for us with hardener and stuff in the correct amounts, and then Rafa went around with basically a camel hair brush and touched up paint all over this bus. There were just little places all over it, which is pretty normal when you're done with the project, where the paint either like on a hinge maybe where the paint was a little chipped or something. Mostly areas like that around here. It's just little. I don't even know where all he went. He was spending all day pretty much on it almost. Like this thing here might have had some spots where the paint was a little thin. The jack port there, around, it's open right now, but the top hinge, there's my finger. This hinge that goes along here for the rear hatch had just a lot of little places on it where the paint had kind of chipped due to opening and closing the spring. Just little areas like that all over the bus that you probably wouldn't even notice unless you were looking really, really close. But that's basically what Rafa did, is went around the whole bus looking really, really close for anywhere that the paint had tiny issues, and he fixed them. So he did that, and this is propped open because we wanted to let it dry before putting it back down. And he put on the hubcaps, and I believe he also did a front end alignment on it. So this bus is pretty much ready to go. I keep saying I'm going to have to drive it pretty soon. Definitely out of excuses now. So I don't know if I'm going to do it tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, then after the long weekend for sure. So that is pretty much what happened on that bus today. The other thing Rafa did was him and Mr. Jacob installed all the windows in this car. Well, not the door windows, those were already in. Those we didn't touch, but we had the rear quarter windows out and we had the rear window out because this car had paint work back here from the fire, and also it had a new headliner put in it because the old headliner smelled like an ashtray, also from the fire. So those guys went ahead and put the three rear windows back in, and then those windows actually had really nice seals on them. They were very compliant and in great shape, so we just reused all those. The front windshield, though, the seal was like very cracked, kind of around here how they get, and it was very crusty. So those guys popped out the windshield, put a new seal on it and new trim, and then reinstalled it. And so, yeah, all the windows pretty much went in. Little to no drama there. Pretty much textbook window installation. So those guys did that. Jacob and I did a little bit more troubleshooting here. One of his headlights was not working in one position, which I think was on the high beam position. One light was not working. The passenger side, and then also his idiot light for the high beams was not working, and it was 100% not Jacob's fault. So let me show you what happened. So the little 2-fuse holder right here, which is for the headlights on these early cars, is supposed to be where you have one wire coming in, and then going out are 2 wires, which are both connected essentially through fuses to that same wire that's coming in. That's how the fuse box is, the correct fuse box for the high beams for the front of an early car are supposed to be. So the 2-fuse holder box that we got, though, the two circuits were totally separate. In other words, the top terminal coming in only went to the top terminal going out, and likewise bottom to bottom versus one terminal coming in and then connecting to both fuses to the outlet. So we didn't know that when we installed it, and so the one high beam wasn't getting power, but only the one that was on the same side as the wire coming in, which went across that fuse and came to that headlight, if that makes sense. So basically we just put a little jumper across the inlet of that fuse box. You might have seen it there when I showed it. Problem solved. And then the same issue was actually causing the idiot light for the high beams to not go on, because it was connected to the side of the fuse box that actually wasn't receiving any power. So long story short, that took care of that. Let's see what else. He swapped out his oil pressure sender switch, which I mentioned yesterday was bad. And I think that was all the electrical on this car. So yeah, Jacob is batting 100 here. Every electrical issue that we had with the car was 100% not his fault. He did a really good job, especially considering it was literally the first time he's ever wired a car, or probably the first time he's wired anything. I'm not sure. So yeah, great job to him. Super fast learner and a hard worker. The big news with this car is that we started this bad boy up and it sounds killer. I'd swear Jacob's smile was going from ear to ear when we got it fired up after priming it a few times and, turning over a bunch, and finally got the fuel pump doing its fuel pump thing and got the float bowls filled up and it started running. Man, was he one happy dude. And I can see why, because this thing sounds bitchin'. I literally love this little impy exhaust for, a stockish motor. It does have a small merged collector on it where all of the pipes come together just before the little log style muffler. And then it's got the muffler with the slightly bigger tips that are kind of cut at an angle, giving it a little bit more of a sporty look. And it's just a killer sounding exhaust. And the throttle response from these carburetors is just awesome. So yeah, very happy day for Jacob. We have a couple little issues that we have to solve. One is that this is aimed at Impy. The throttle return springs on these carburetors are practically useless. The way they're in there is just dumb, and they don't work very well at all. So the issue is that when you use the throttle and then you let it go, if you can see that there, is it just doesn't really return all the way. Do you see how much that moved there? Watch this, I'll do it again. So give it some throttle, let it go. You can actually see the gap in there. I'll close it. There. And that's because the spring, the direction that the spring is pulling compared to the little lever it's on, once the throttle gets about to the closed position, the spring is doing like almost nothing. And that's true on both sides. So we got to fix that because it's annoying, and you can't really get the carburetors to be synchronized very well at idle if they're not really even closing all the way because of the linkage. So my good friend and neighbor Dave has the same carburetor set up on his car, and he monkeyed around with his for a while and got it to work. So I think he's going to shoot us some pictures. Had a pretty good idea what he did, but I thought, let me see what Dave did, and then we'll more or less copy that. I think it involves drilling a new hole on one side and mounting the spring at a slightly different angle, and then also using maybe a little bit stiffer springs. So we'll sort that out, and we need to do something with this here because we can't just have it like blowing air with oil in it out into the engine compartment. So we'll put a little filter on it, or at least put a hose on it and run it back down to the the bottom of the motor. So something like that. But pretty much those are really the only two outlying issues on this car, other than obviously we need to put the deck lid on it. But Mr. Jacob may actually be taking this bad boy home tomorrow. We'll see. We're pretty much down to just those teeny tiny little things. Of course, we still have to take it for a drive, but I don't see why the motor wouldn't run good. It sounds really good, but with those carburetors, we got to sync them a little bit better once we get that linkage sorted out and stuff like that. But I think it's going to run really good. So maybe, hopefully for Jacob's sake, he'll get to take his car tomorrow. He's super excited to get it. and very happy with all the stuff that we've done while we had it in here. So that is it for Jacob for today. So for this guy here, the Cowlick 80s Van Halen Special, lots of work done on this car today. So there are actual hangers that bolt between the mufflers. You can't see them, of course, up to the headers with some special little clamps and straps and stuff. So I installed those today. They went on pretty easily, although I had to drill a new hole on each of the little straps. The ones that were in there just weren't quite in the right place. Not a big deal. So I put those in, and then I bolted the breastplate in. So that's actually bolted in now. Before it's just kind of been sitting there, but that had to come out so that I could put the little straps and supports in there where the exhaust comes out of the two cylinders closest to me here. So yeah, those went in, and then the breastplate went in. The pulley, I don't remember if I put that in. I think I might have put that in yesterday. The distributor went in today. The fuel pump went in today. The carburetors are actually on now. Before they were just sitting there. They are actually bolted on now with gaskets, with air cleaners, with linkage. So everything that you see now is actually installed. Before, most of what you saw here was just kind of sitting there because it looked bitchin' and I was test fitting things. But now this is like legit stuff installed here. The only thing, the coil is actually just kind of sitting there because I need to wire it up still, and I need to get wires for it. But other than that, let's see what else. I was talking yesterday about this one triangle piece of the doghouse cooler. Now you can see how you can't even see it before. So this was the one that I had powder coated red initially, like all the rest of the tin. And it just looks stupid having this red thing back here. So now it's black and it disappears as I wanted it to. So much better there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So this motor, other than putting the cap, rotor, plug wires on it, and then wiring it up and a belt, this motor is pretty much done. So pretty exciting here, and very happy with how it's looking. You guys all know that I'm in love with this motor because it just looks cool, and it makes me happy because it's so 80s looking that it's not even funny. And so yeah, good day in the shop here, getting a lot done on this one, and especially on Jacob's car here. So that's it for today, guys. Appreciate you watching. Please like our video. Please subscribe if you like our content, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.